Here are the best and worst things about doing time in Toronto South Detention Center. Hey guys, what's going on? It's Slava P and I'm here with another jail story. I went to jail for 28 months for a non-violent drug crime. You can read all about it in my book Bad Trips, available on Amazon now. One of the worst experiences I had during my adventure through prison was Toronto South Detention Center. There's a lot of provincial jails in Ontario and they're all called buckets. Toronto South is an especially heinous sort of bucket. Now, Toronto South is not as bad as Maplehurst, which I would say is one of the worst buckets to do time in, but it's still no walk in the park. Toronto South Detention Center was opened up on January 29th, 2014, and when it's completely full, it can hold 1,650 inmates. The entire structure of Toronto South feels American because it was designed in America. The units were actually imported from Atlanta, Georgia to Toronto to build Toronto South. There are not a lot of positives to doing bucket time, but I'm going to try to break down the parts that really stuck out to me as being particularly exceptional. Let's start with something neutral, the people. Now, if you're of a certain age, you're going to get incredibly annoyed by the fact that it's mostly 18 and 19-year-old boys running around. At times, I definitely thought the noise was a little bit annoying, but because of them, I found out who Ruby Rose was. Thank you. As well as finding out that Zoe Kravitz is the #1 sex interest among kids of that demographic. Thank you. That's not to say that there aren't old people in the facility as well, but because everybody's wearing the same orange jumpsuit, it's hard to tell whether that old white guy with a beard has a substance abuse problem and is going to start talking to you about aliens, or if he's a well-to-do entrepreneur who's interested in telling some stories and going home to his beautiful family. Now, there's some borderline geniuses in Toronto South, I'll tell you that. I'm talking about engineer-level stuff. Guys are making stuff out of newspaper like baskets and brooms. Guys are making water weights out of bags and bed sheets and, of course, water. And the way that these guys understand how air flows through a facility would make a lot of HVAC professionals pretty jealous. Assuming those HVAC professionals even went to school and didn't just inherit the company from their dad. Kevin. One of the coolest examples of this level of ingenuity comes down to the food. Now, prison food is really a perfect example of making the best out of the worst. I've tried eating some of the stuff that got me excited when I was in jail now that I'm out, and I can just tell you, it doesn't hit the same. This freedom makes this food taste bad. One of the coolest items that I've seen being made was something called peanut punch, which involves everybody chipping in and putting all these ingredients into a big garbage bag, shaking it around, and then distributing the mixture based on what somebody put in. Peanut butter, milk, chocolate bars, pretty much anything that's sweet and would taste good mixed with milk ends up making its way into the garbage bag. There's also the jail burrito, which a lot of people have talked about. I can just tell you that there is nothing like taking those noodles, putting them into that chip bag, sitting on it under your mattress for a few hours so it becomes a nice congealed brick, and then taking a bite out of it like it's pure gold. The jail burrito does not hit the same once you're out. As men, we talk to other men and build relationships on sports. This is a lot harder to do when everybody does not have a phone that can generate the data that they need to back up their argument. Yo, I'm pretty sure Kevin Durant is a better player than LeBron was in his rookie season. There's no way that's true. A lot of these conversations end up just going in circles, unless of course somebody feels comfortable enough going up to the front desk and asking the corrections officer on duty to check a stat on his phone. There's a lot of guys who take a big issue with anybody talking to the cops about anything, so be careful if you decide to do something like this. One of the coolest things about Toronto South is that there is a lot of cannabis there. That's right, you can smoke weed in jail. Another feat of ingenuity. Guys will make a wick out of some braided up toilet paper and then use the electrical outlet that the TV is plugged into to spark that wick. Once that wick is sparked, that ember will stay lit for hours. As for the weed, well, you can only get weed in jail one way, and that's by hooping it. Guys will actually use Kinder Surprise egg containers to bring in the stuff, and I've heard rumors that you can get as much as 1 ounce of flour in one of those little eggs. That's gotta hurt coming out though. Now, it's objectively cool to smoke weed, and it's even cooler to do it in prison. Plus, you have to remember that the only thing you can do to pass time is play cards and watch TV. Not to mention eat. So what better activities to be high for than those? One of my biggest beefs with being in jail was the fact that the TV was either always showing ridiculousness or botched. Two shows that I can't watch anymore without being reminded of being in Toronto South. Obviously, it goes without saying that this is still jail. So the worst part is the lockdowns. You'll be locked down for 23 hours and given 1 hour in which you can go shower and use the phone. This is hell, especially if you have a cellie who you do not get along with. You better hope he showers and washes his ass every day, because if the hygiene's a problem, the space that you're locked in is gonna be bad. Lockdown means that you're stuck in that little box with someone that you may or may not get along with or may not like the smell of. Now, this problem, I don't know if it's personal or if anybody else can relate, but I really hated the fact that you cannot shower naked in jail. Nobody really wants to see anybody's wiener, so people insist that you shower with your boxers on. This may not seem like a big deal to a lot of you, but I hated the fact that not only are we already in a panopticon, but now we can't even enjoy the one pleasure, which is being ass naked. You actually do get a little bit more shower privacy as you work your way up to federal, and as I understand it, some buckets will actually have a cell that is set up to be a shower, so every bucket is different. But I do know that Toronto South does not allow you to shower naked anywhere, on any range. The joy of using a private bathroom is something we take for granted a lot, let me tell you that. One of the most annoying things was also that light is always going to stay on. All they do at nighttime is turn it down a little bit, but because the guards need to see you and make sure that you're safe when you're sleeping, that light will never go completely off. Darkness, another thing we take for granted. So that's been my video explaining the best and worst things about Toronto South Detention Center. If you like it, don't forget to subscribe, leave a comment, and hit that thumbs up.